Hi everyone. Today I'm heading up the Helford to camp in my hot tent. And normally when you hot tent you go with a group, but because of the you-know-what, I just had to get out of the house really. So I'm heading on my own up to Frenchmans Creek and I'm going to put up the hot tent. The weather right now is interesting. We've had like a high pressure system over the north of the UK, which means that we get easterly winds, which means we get easterly swells, which is quite unusual. So normally you don't get a swell running up the Helford, except for today. There's a bit of a residual swell that's pumping up there. So the boats are bouncing around a little bit, and there's a bit of a tailwind. So I'm almost kind of surfing up the Helford, which is a really unusual thing to do. Anyway, I'm going to shut up talking and I'll turn you around so you can enjoy the view. Oh, I love it here. Hi, so that was a lovely paddle, a bit bumpy for a bit to be honest, but we are in a place called Withyham Quay. So it's a National Trust area. You can camp here, kind of. You just need to respect it, keep it clean. No late night parties, that sort of stuff. There's a fireplace right here. When the last time I came, the fireplace was underwater because the spring tide was so high that I had to turn around and go somewhere else. But I'm here right now at high tide on a lesser spring, so I hope it is. And I don't think I'm going to get wet tonight or tomorrow morning. So I'm showing you this now because it's going to get dark soon. The way the spring tides work, anywhere in the world, they always happen around about the same time of the day. That's because of the synchronization of the moon and the sun and all that stuff. But in Cornwall, our high spring tides always occur at about sort of 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that sort of time. And that's where we are now. So to get here to this place, you really need to manage and time your tides pretty well. So in 12 hours, the tide will be about like this again. And that's pretty much the time to start packing up and going. So, oh look, we've got some swans coming to check me out. Anyway, I'm going to set up. I'll probably create a time lapse and show you how the hot tent goes up. I'm going to put the stove in the tent. It'll be around about here, I think. And I've got about 10, maybe 20 centimeters of space before and over the tide, I think. So it shouldn't be too wet. Another thing I meant to mention, dirty lens, is when you finished a paddle to a camp, take a flask of tea. This was taught to me by my friend Adrian. So Adrian had this hot sweet tea. The first thing we did, you get out of your boat, drink your tea, rehydrate, because you know I've paddled a few miles, warm up, rehydrate, and then start setting up camp. Anyway, talk to you soon. You see what I mean about the tide. So already the pegs are slightly underwater, but I think I'm going to get away with it. This high tide is just in about 10 minutes. So if I keep away from that end of the tent, I should be okay. The tomorrow morning's tide is 10 centimeters lower. Oh well, I can always move it. This tent is made by a company called Nortent. They're from Norway. and they make tents, so I guess they would call themselves Nortent, and they have every right to. It's a teepee and it's a hot tent, so it's designed to have a stove inside it. I'll show you the assembly of the stove in a little while. In the meantime, I'm going to have a cup of tea and see how much the tide comes up around my Nortent, because I may have to move it. See you in a bit. Hi folks. Well, I must admit to feeling a little bit of a plonker, because the tide did come in quite a bit, and I did take the teepee down, and I am going to move it. I'm going to put it exactly where the kayak right is, because there's a slightly bit of high ground here. Right. So I'll put it there. I could have maybe got away with it, because in the morning the tide is going to be about 10 centimeters lower, and that's probably enough, and it wouldn't have done any harm anyway. But right where the stove was going to go is inundated right now, so if you can see, so that won't work. I'm going to move everything sort of just under the boat, and then set an alarm. So the time right now is 18:45. High tide was in Falmouth was half an hour ago, but it takes about half an hour for it to wash all the way up here. I've been looking at the tide. It kind of wobbles up and down a little bit. It comes up, it goes down, it goes up, and it goes down. And of course, then you're looking at your tent, wondering whether to take it down, and they did. So in a little while, I'll get the fire going, make some dinner, and then when the tide's dropped a little bit, I'll put the teepee up, set my alarm, and yeah, I am a bit of a plonker, but I'm having fun. I hope you're enjoying it too. Later on, I'll have the stove on in the tent when the tide's figured out what it's doing. So I come to places like this for peace and quiet. Isn't it quiet? Right, I've switched over to the iPhone. I think it's better in the poor light. Things are beginning to get cozy, although of course I haven't put the teepee up again yet. There's a little snafu with the tide. But yeah, I get a nice fire going. You may have noticed that I brought my own firewood. The reason for that is really to save, you know, the wood in the local woodland. Don't want to diminish it too much. Britain led the world in the crude art of deforestation, so we do have some woodland left, but not enough to go chopping things down too much. You won't find an awful lot of dead standing wood. You can find some, okay, you can, but I want it to be nice and comfy tonight. So yeah, I bought some wood. I stashed some at the campsite too. So usually buy it, put it in a waterproof bag or something, and then just hide it somewhere. Anyway, I'll get some dinner started in a little while. Actually, maybe I'll have a beer. Right, tonight I'm going to have some salmon steak, and I've already chopped up some garlic. I'll put a bit of garlic on there, and I'm going to have French fries with it. Now the way I'm going to cook, I wish I bought lemon. God, I could do with a bit of lemon really. But what I'm going to do, put this in the garlic and some butter, and then I'll put that on top of the hot tent stove, which I should probably show you because it's up and running now. Let's go into the tent. Right, so this is the inside of the teepee. That's the stove, and you'll notice it looks like I've been extremely untidy and put all kinds of things on the ground, and that's to keep the, well, it is because I'm untidy, but it's also to keep the damp down, because the tide was up there just a couple of hours ago, so the ground's a bit damp and it'll just become a bit of a sauna. As it is, it's almost too hot to be in at the moment, and that's good because I can dry out all my clothes and you know, raise the temperature above the dew point a little bit and make it nice and comfortable. You know, hot tents are sort of as being used in very cold areas, but where they're damp areas like the UK, they're pretty good too. So they can make it really comfortable. This is going to be a lovely little place to spend the night. The owls will be busy soon, and it's just going to be lovely. I just need to remember to get up early, otherwise I'll float away. Welcome back. So, I had the salmon in tin foil on the stove, still a bit pink I think. Yeah, so I'll put that on the stove a little bit more. I found it was getting too hot, so I put a couple of pebbles on the stove, just to give it a bit of space. And I've got my first batch of French fries, so I'm going to eat those while the fish is cooking. Absolutely delicious. You know, it's an interesting thing, because French fries without ketchup isn't that bad. No, I wouldn't like to do it all the time, but it's not that bad. I can handle it for a bit. Oh wow, really good. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, little pink, got garlic on it, no lemon, forgot the lemon, forgot the rosemary, but it's just really nice in the tent right now. You can see the stovepipe and how it all works. It goes up through the stove jack and doesn't burn the tent down. There's my little chair, and hi there. I just thought I'd check in and tell you what my night's like. I'm in this huge tent. It's way too big for one person, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's just warm. It's like a Finnish sauna. It's lovely. And I'm watching QI
on Netflix. There's a fire. It's on the GoPro, so maybe it's a little hard to see. And it's just like, I don't know, keeping everything warm. I've got stacks of wood and it's really cranking nicely. I've had my dinner. I finished the salmon. Salmon was really nice. Got a little tot of whiskey, helped me through the night. Over here is probably where the tide's gonna come in. So I've got my alarm set for 6. I don't know, maybe I'll just sleep through it and then it will float around. I don't know. You'll notice that I'm on a camp bed. In America you call this a cot. And that's because I'm a pansy. And I don't know, I like to sleep well. And I sleep in this arrangement better or as well as I do in my bed. It's just lovely. So I've got a mat. So I've got an air mat and a cot, so I'm definitely a pansy. It's just so nice. This is what camping sort of is, really. A friend of mine, Ben, said it doesn't take like years of experience to have a miserable time. So I'm having a really good time and I'm glad I came out.
Morning folks. As you may have seen, the tent did not get wet this morning. Tide came up to just about here. So it was a little bit lower this morning than it was last night. Very, very tempted to go back to bed and put the stove on, but the tide is now on its way out, so it's a bit like getting a bus really. If you miss it, you've got to wait for the next one. Well, that's the boat packed up. It's an awful lot easier to do it in time lapse. You can see that the tide's gone down a little bit, and when it does here, it'll do that for a little while and it'll just go whoosh straight out. So we'll catch the tide, head out. Whew. It is easier in time lapse. Anyway, I think this might be it. So thanks for watching. I think you have to give a thumbs up or something. I'm new at this, you probably guessed. See you next time. Bye bye.